you gotta be, you gotta be.
Hi, welcome to You Gotta Be, a podcast that focuses on women-identified DJs and their lives and their work. Today we have Monday Blue, a Brooklyn-based DJ, fluent in digital and vinyl, with over 9 years experience spinning music that moves and elevates diverse crowds. The 2018 Pulitzer Prizes DJ, Monday Blue, can be found playing in venues in Brooklyn, Manhattan, and beyond. She is the creator and resident DJ of Doyennes of Disc, a monthly vinyl party featuring all women DJs based in Brooklyn's premier vinyl bar, BierWax. Monday Blue flows easily in the digital realm, however, her heart beats with vinyl. You can listen to her playing her favorite wax every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Follow Your Bliss with Monday Blue on the Face Radio, and watch her spinning live on Saturdays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Twitch TV /DJ Monday Blue. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah. First thing I'd like to say is how cool to spin at the Pulitzer Prize party.
That was an interesting experience for sure. I don't know that they have had DJs after that year. That was like the first time they tried it. And so it was very interesting learning how to integrate into that crowd, because you're like, okay, these are the journalists, the writers, they're not used to this kind of thing. So it were a lot of talks and meetings at that event, but it was very cool actually. And I got to attend the ceremony and watch that, in the audience, which is it was cool. It was a very interesting experience. Always good to play in different venues, different crowds, different vibes. So I enjoyed it as an experience.
And Kendrick Lamar won for the music award. I love Kendrick Lamar for Damn. And that was the first time a hip hop artist had won just like on his own, not sort of like as a collaboration with somebody else, I think.
Yeah, that was true. He was at we saw him at the ceremony. I was like, oh, that's Kendrick Lamar. Like at my table. It was very fun.
That's great. How did you prepare for that?
Oh, good question. Well, they gave me kind of, they went over who the winners were going to be. And they were gave me some source material ideas for there were two different events. And so I just kind of used that and put it together with songs that I thought would work with the vibe. So yeah, it was just kind of there's collaboration, and usually when working with any client, if it's not something where I'm playing, right, and just reading the room and playing, doing what I do, trying to get some input about what kind of scene they're trying to set, what kind of vibe or energy they want, and if they have anything specific they really want to hear, I have to hear this song, I really want this to happen or be part of what goes on. So yeah,
I did a wedding, they wanted Scottish music,
right? Exactly,
part of it, right?
Exactly. Perfect example. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. What is the first song you remember loving as a child, and why?
I remember distinctly, I used to love Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang, because it was rhyming, and my brother who used to babysit me, take care of me, is 14 years older than me, right? So and he used to be really into records, funk records, mostly a lot of funk. And then again, that was that was the first hip hop record that was really pressed, right? And so I think it's just the beat in that I could the words were rhyming. And so I was very young, but I could learn and say the words because we played it over and over and over again. I remember my mother being not very pleased about that. She's like, stop listening to that with her. Stop playing that. But I every time I came out with hip hop, it was, so it was cool. It was very infectious, right? So I distinctly remember that. I think that's my first record memory. Very clear memory.
What are your favorite genres to DJ and dance to? So some people DJ a very specific genre, but they may rather DJ or dance to something else.
Interesting. So I guess what most people refer to as an open format DJ. Um, so because I play across genres, right? I like mostly everything. The only thing I don't really play a lot of, or haven't really tried to play a lot of, is country and western country music. But that, that could change. I kind of like Mickey Guyton, so I'm kind of going to get into her catalog, what I like, right? So typically I play things that I like to listen to or like the sounds of, right? Again, unless I'm working with a client and it's very more specific, right? There might be some parties that I play where the crowd skews younger. And so they're going to be listening to kind of like, say for like hip hop, right? They're going to be listening to stuff that's more current that I typically wouldn't be listening to, right? On my own, of my own volition. But I say that my favorite genres to DJ are definitely like disco, funk, soul. I like classic hip hop, and I like also, I guess I don't know if they're considered hip hop, right? To me, the genre names don't always encapsulate what the music sounds like, but there are new artists that I really enjoy playing, right? And listening to. Like I really like Little Sims. I really enjoy the internet. Thundercat, I enjoy a lot too, right? And there's others. So I don't know what genre to call them. Sometimes I just refer to it as future soul. I don't know, right? Yeah. In my head, that's how I kind of categorize it, or electro soul in my head, like K Tronada, like Lion Babe. Oh, okay. So that I like too, and I like playing to it, but dancing, like if I'm going to have a dance floor experience, I still love deep house, and I always will, you know what I mean? I pretty much play it in I know all my Follow Your Bliss sets, I'll play some house, right? Or house adjacent or club music, because I do still love that. But, I also like, funk and disco to dance to as well. Newer stuff. I know a lot of, especially here in Brooklyn, people are really into Afro beats or Amapiano move. I think I'm saying that right. Music. And that's cool too, but it's not like, I don't want to hear that all night. But I think I'm at the stage in my life too, where I just don't really want to hear all of any one thing all night. I like a variety of some sort. So that's kind of where I am with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's like when in the 90s, maybe techno sort of took over the gay club scene. And I was like, okay, so I like it, but do I like 2 hours of it nonstop?
Right, exactly.
Right. And I play techno now, but I try to, that's like a live stream set. Would I do that in a club situation? No, I'd probably have to switch it up somehow at some point if I was playing 4 hours or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm very much the same way. I'm like, just keep me going. That's all I care about. Just keep me going with like interesting music that grabs me.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
What made you decide to become a DJ?
I always, from my young adulthood, I always enjoyed going out and dancing, right? And I was very into the DJ. Like I needed to know who the DJ was going to be because, and then when I started going out first to clubs when I was coming of age, I was living in Atlanta at the time. That's where I went to undergrad. So, there are certain DJs that I really enjoyed, right? I find that. So I would seek out those DJs. And so I just enjoyed the whole process of it. I mean, I like the music. I like the idea of blending. I used to love to hear DJs blend.
Yeah, me too.
One of my favorite DJs in Atlanta, DJ Jamad, and he still plays a little bit. But he would do like what we would now call edits, right? But at the time, like, there are remixes, right? Like thinking more like in the 90s, you get your remixes, right? And it's a totally different version of the song. And, but like editing was a little bit different because Jamad was the first DJ I really heard and listened to who would just take very different songs and put them together. Like he did this amazing, he and this other DJ called Locksmith did like a double set Outkast Reimagined, and they reworked like all the Outkast catalog. And it's still one of my favorite things to listen to. Like, so I was fascinated with that aspect that you could DJ and just, the sounds you could hear in your head or that you always wanted to dance to, or like, oh my gosh, I never thought about putting it together like this.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. And so, you know, and I guess, you know, I never thought like, you know, there weren't necessarily a lot of women DJs that I would see, especially again in Atlanta, because I lived there for about, how long did I live there? Like over a decade, right? And like
Okay.
on that scene, you know, there was like one woman DJ. I really remember being out and about and doing gigs as much as the male DJs, Cha Cha Jones. But other than that, you didn't really see women DJing, right? So I guess I didn't know, you know, sometimes there's a thing like representation matters, right? Or seeing someone like yourself doing it. And so fast forward and moved to Brooklyn, and I finished physical therapy school, and I finally had time, right? Because I was 3 years full time, and it was a lot of work, a lot of studying, and a lot of just everything. So I was like, maybe this would be time for me to like, you know, become a DJ. And at the time, there were DJ schools in New York City, right?
Right.
And so I went to a school that is now defunct, no longer exists, called Dubspot. And that's actually where I met Reborn, because she was an instructor, one of the instructors there. So I just took DJ classes, and I just kind of went from there, you know. And one of my friends, actually, I ran into her yesterday. She had, like, at the time, she still sells vintage and modern clothing, but she used to do these events on the parlor floor for Brownstone. And she's like, when you're ready to DJ, I'm going to hire you to come play. So she was the first person who ever booked me for a gig, right? I played at her Sunday event. She used to open up her parlor floor. It was very fun. She used to call them Tracy Tastings because her company was, at the time, was Tracy Chambers Vintage. Of course, Tracy Chambers was Diana Ross's character in Mahogany. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. And does she still have a vintage store?
Well, she does mostly online. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. So she still sells vintage and also modern clothing, but on the web, basically on the internet.
You want to give her a shout out?
Sure. I think it might be TracyChambersLifestyle.com.
Okay, cool.
So, but if you search like Tracy Chambers Vintage, like it will redirect you to her current website. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
How did you build your business and market yourself?
I laugh because it's like
I have a business. I'm marketing.
I have my business plan written out, and it's very intentional now. Like, which would maybe be helpful. There might be some DJs who do that. I don't know. DJing is very interesting in that many DJs are great at being creative. I'm not sure. There are some who are good at business as well, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was going to be a thing for me in the way it has become when I started DJing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's
been kind of going with intuition and just playing and just, you know, I remember, so my teacher at Dubspot, his name is O.P. Miller. Love O.P. He works for Serato, and like, if you're a DJ in the United States, especially in Brooklyn, you have called OP like frantically when you had like a Serato software issue or something happen at your gig. Like, he should be sainted, because I know we wear him out. But I remember he's like, you know, you always, you know, whatever gig you're playing, you're going to do your best every gig. You got to do whatever in that moment, whatever your best is, do that at that gig. And so I just took that to heart, and that's what I did. And so I didn't have a plan, because I didn't know that I would 9 years later still be DJing and doing it in the venues I've done it in and plan to do it in, you know, in the way I have. I had no idea. So I didn't have a plan. So as far as marketing myself, basically, I just kind of saw what other people were doing on Instagram, right? You have your flyer on Instagram, Facebook. But actually my goal this year is to I've had my website in development for several years, right? So I just need to finish some things and make it live.
Yeah.
So that's what I plan to do.
Me too.
What I plan to do the next few months, and also just do a little newsletter, because there are also people I know that follow me that don't really do social media.
Right.
Right. And there was that last year when the like Facebook and Instagram went down, and it happened before, but it was like 72 hours and everybody was like freaking out.
Yeah.
So it again reminded me that I need to have a place where people can come and find me and what I'm doing, not being reliant upon those platforms. So that is my plan moving forward. But yeah, so also yeah, I think, sending out newsletters and just touching base with people in that way can be very helpful as well. So, and so that's honestly, I guess I should say it's still evolving for me. I didn't start out with it, but I did not start with the plan.
Yeah, pretty much like me. What beginner's mistakes did you make that you wished you'd known more about at the time?
Really know the vibe in the crowd in the venue you're playing, and if it doesn't align, if it's not aligned with what you do and what you want to do, it's okay to say no.
Yeah, like maybe a sports bar is not going to be your venue or something.
Or or a crowd where where they want to hear, like some people, if they want to hear, like a happy hour set, but they want to hear the same thing they've been hearing for the past 10 years when they go to happy hour, right?
Yeah.
Any deviation from that, you know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? And it's not that that's a bad thing, but if it's something that you really don't want to do, it's really going to feel like work, and it's going to make you not enjoy what you're doing. And I don't ever want to not enjoy DJing and playing music. So that's one thing I, would have been helpful to know in the beginning, because there's a lot of pressure. You think, oh, I should do this gig, someone wants to book me. Yeah. But it's a learning process, right? And growing in the field and in the craft. So, but yeah.
Tell me about your first live gig. And then if that wasn't a paid gig, your first paid gig.
Okay, so I'm having to think. I have to. Well, actually, you know what? I did get paid at my first gig. That at Tracy Tate. That was a paid gig. You know. What I mean? It wasn't my highest paid gig I ever had, but it definitely was a paid gig. You know what I mean? So and so that was my first live playing for people, and I was very nervous, and I had that setup was crazy. I can't remember. I think I had one turntable and a mixer, and I was doing instant doubles with Serato, my laptop. But people were dancing, and we did it again, So I'm sure I might have probably sounded, I can only imagine if I go back and hear myself, but I did it. I got through it, and I came back and did it again, and just try to get better every time, Yeah. But yeah, it was nerve wracking the first time I played, so, but yeah, but that was a paid gig as well. So,
yeah. Tell me about your experiences during the pandemic. What was it like at the beginning? How did you pivot? How long was it until your first live gig again? And what was it like to do that live gig?
Okay. So the pandemic was a lot. That's all I can say. I mean, it was a lot, especially here in Brooklyn, New York City. It was pretty awful when it first started. No one really knew what was going on. And it was really crazy because things just really shut down. So it was like, I remember my last gig that I played before everything shut down. I still kind of couldn't believe that it was really going to happen. And then I was like, oh, this is crazy. It was really strange, and it was really weird and different. So the good thing was that I still had, my radio show with the Face Radio, and basically that they talked all of this through how to basically broadcast from home so that we could still do the show, stream it live on the Face Radio. And so that was really what got me through a lot of those months, because I didn't have any other gigs, right? And it was just, so it was a rough time. But again, that bright spot of having kept me focused, that I needed to do this show for 2 hours every Wednesday. And then I saw that people were first going live on Instagram, and then, other DJs, and then they were getting shut down, right? Instagram was shut down your stream. And then I saw that other DJs were moving to Twitch, right? So on the Horn pivoted to Twitch. I remember early on, some of the early adopters. DJ Spinna, I remember, was another DJ who was, I think, early on. Louis Vega got on a little bit later. And it seemed like so elaborate, and I didn't really know where to start, right? Yeah. But then, so that was so I was doing the shows, but I would do my live stream on the Face. And then I did my first Twitch stream at the end of October in 2020. because it was after I did like a virtual, like, Zoom events were big. Now I did play Zoom events. I will say that. I was doing virtual things for different groups, people I played for, different organizations. And then myself and someone I went to college with, we kind of hosted as part of like a YouTube panel. Or were we on Zoom? No, we were on Zoom. I'm sorry, everything feels fuzzy. I probably blocked a lot of it out.
I know, like the rest of us.
Yeah, but then we did it was like we did a panel, and then there was a music piece that DJ'd afterwards, and people were like, oh, I would love to hear you more. So that week I was like, you know what, I'm going to start streaming my radio show. I'm going to do it live on Twitch while I broadcast on the Face Radio, and that's when I started doing my Twitch stream. And it was, again, I still have the same setup. I still don't have a streaming computer, right? So that's what. So I stream on Twitch using my phone in the Twitch app, right?
Yeah.
But I was just learning how to get, what I needed to get. I had to do a little reading or whatever, or watching videos online. And so then I started doing Twitch. And so then my first paid gig after that, I am trying to remember when we started going back out. And I feel like it was sometime in early 2021. I think that happened, but I can't remember where it was exactly. I wish I could, but I think some of that is so fuzzy.
Yeah.
And it just seems like it happened. I know it was very recent, but it seems like it happened 10 years ago in some ways. So
I know.
I don't know. This is very strange how it feels, but yeah.
Yeah. Time got really twisted, right? It seemed like everything was happening so quickly, and yet it felt like we've been doing this for like 10 years, like you said.
Right. It is very strange. So, but that's kind of how the flow happened. Yeah. But I just, for virtual events, virtual Zoom events, virtual Zoom events, virtual Zoom events, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yeah. And were those Zoom events paid?
Some of them were, yes, for sure.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, like different organizations or what have you, groups. So I definitely did. Yeah, most of them were paid. The one thing I did, like a virtual event I did, like for a while at the end of 2020, I was doing this Sunday show with Andre J. And we would just do that kind of for the love, and then we would get together and do that. It was just nice to have somewhere to put the creative energy and the focus energy outside of what everything else that was going on. So that's the one thing we did that was not paid, but my other Zoom events, they were definitely paid.
Well, that's cool. Do you remember when your last gig was before the pandemic? Was it like in March, or was it in February?
Yeah, it was in March. It was like it was like March 8th or something. It's like they shut everything down on March 10th, like March 8th was like my last gig. Yeah.
Wow. So it was whiplash, right? It was just playing, having a good time, and then boom.
Right. I was playing at the gig and I was like, are they really going to shut everything? It was just inconceivable that they would shut everything down in New York. It was great. I was like, what is happening? It was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. The city that never sleeps. Right.
It was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. For us, it was March 13th. Everything just came to a grinding halt.
Yeah.
But that's when I started DJing. Actually, I'd done a few things before that, but I started live streaming like 2 weeks later. And
that's very cool. I love that.
Yeah. What do you feel that your greatest achievement has been up to this point as a DJ?
Not quitting.
Not quitting.
I mean, that's really in a nutshell, to keep going, to not quitting.
Yeah, that's good to hear, because it is sometimes you're like, God, will somebody please just let me do something, even if it's just for the door? I want to play in front of live people.
That's really been the big thing, to just not stop, to not quit for me. So yeah. Real talk. Yeah.
How do you keep the music and DJing fresh for yourself? You talked about this earlier, in the framework of playing gigs that are a fit for you. But how do you keep just staying fresh and avoiding burnout?
uh, part of that is why I play vinyl. It's like, so nothing like going back, like even like going out. So there'll be times when I'll go back through my records and play them side to side, right?
Yeah.
And hear things I didn't hear before. It's like there's always new music. Going to record stores and digging through crates and listening to artists, records I've never seen, heard of, that helps. That's part of it. That's why I really enjoy vinyl. Like I always play vinyl. Like definitely play digital, right, as well, because in some setups it's just not feasible. Vinyl is not really feasible for some venues and some setups. But I will always play vinyl out for people, or for, you know, for some, in some way, because it does it, you're touching it, you're with the music, you're breathing with it, you're in sync with it, like you're discovering it, you're rediscovering it. That's how really it helps a lot. When my cat just came in.
Yeah, my cat is asleep somewhere, thank God. Yeah, actually going into record stores, that's how I discovered Esther Phillips.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going through a record store and I got the album From a Whisper to a Scream, and it just like
right. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing like that to go hear something you hadn't heard that you really vibe with. It's nothing like it. So that's really what I do.
And you can't really do that with streaming music, because I mean, you can put it on and let it sort of like randomly scroll through or something, but there was something about picking up the album and looking at the cover and going, oh, this is cool, and turning it over and looking at the songs, and oh, I'm not hearing it at all, just by virtue of like what it felt like to look at it, saying, oh, okay, let me take this. Now, mind you, once I picked up a CD that was Brazilian, because I really love bossa nova, and it turned out to be speed metal. And that was a little adventurous. Yeah. That was adventurous. I put it on and I'm like, whoa. This is not Astrid Gilberto.
Right. That's totally different, right? 180 degrees from Astrid, yes.
Yeah. What have been your biggest challenges in the business? And what do you think are the biggest challenges for women DJs or women DJs of color in general? And or
I think the biggest challenges can be like sometimes figure out when you're trying to figure out how to get gigs, right? Or how to, if I want to play at that place or play at this place. For me personally, that might not have been an issue for, you know, everyone's mileage varies.
Yeah.
I would say, I think as for women DJs, like I think living in Brooklyn, it's a different experience, right? Because in my experience, I seem like I know a lot of women DJs, right? But nationally, globally, I don't think there's as many, right, that are getting the more higher visibility gigs, and things of that nature, right? So I definitely think there is, and that might be changing a little bit, that might be shifting now, but I spent a lot of time keeping my head down in some ways and focus on what I'm doing. But if I peek my head up, I think it could be shifting a little bit. I'm not sure how much. We'll have to see how that's going to play out. But I think definitely just knowing how to access certain things, and sometimes it's just random, like not luck, but it's no rhyme. DJing is weird because there's no rhyme or reason, right? It's not like you know, if you're going to medical school, you're going to go to medical school, then you're going to be a resident, an intern, then you're going to be a resident, then you're going to blah, blah, blah. You know, it's not like that at all. It's chaos, you know, and random in many ways. So that can be challenging, right? Because you're trying to figure out things and it's not always clear. It can be very opaque.
Right.
And then if you're a woman and people might make assumptions about your skill level or what you can do and overlook you because of that. You know what I mean? This hasn't been my issue. I don't know. Like, I don't know. It could be gatekeeping. I'm not always sure. You know what I mean? But that's been my whole life experience being a Black woman, right?
Yeah.
Like, did I not get picked because I'm a Black or a woman, or was it something totally different? Who knows? I don't know. So I guess in that way, I might notice some things, but I don't spend a lot of time dwelling on it because I find for me, it ends up being counterproductive.
Right.
So I really tend to focus on what is happening that's working for me, and what do I want to see more of, and how can I make that happen where I am right now with what I know, if that makes sense, you know?
That does make sense. And do you think that maybe your Doyens of Disc was a way to sort of take control of that narrative and sort of like create a space where you can, like, you know, if you're not going to hire me, then I'm just going to do my own thing here and bring other people into it.
Yeah, and also because I went to a women's college. I graduated from Spelman College in Atlanta. It's an HBCU for women. And I just believe, I believe in women. There are so many talented women that I know in my life, across many fields, but in DJing as well. But yeah, part of it, but that's also part of I think my personal thing is always, if you create something for yourself, no one can take your creation.
Yeah.
Without your permission. So I think that's part of why I did that. Yeah. Not that I wasn't necessarily getting gigs, but I think the kind of things I wanted to play and how I wanted to play and how I wanted to express myself is part of why I created that space.
Exactly. And as long as we're on the topic, can you tell us a little bit more about what Doyens of Disc is?
Yeah, so a doyen is just a French word, and it means a woman who has achieved the highest in her field of endeavor, right? The male analog is dean, right? Okay. And I've done Doyens of Disc, Dean's Edition. I've done that too, right? Because I have my male identified male DJs that are colleagues and acquaintances and friends or what have you. But I wanted women who play vinyl to have a place to play vinyl and to showcase that, yes, we play vinyl, right? Some people think it'd be like my cat getting up here and be like, if my cat starts spinning records, that's how sometimes people act, like when you're a woman playing vinyl, right?
Yeah.
You think I'm joking, like, oh my gosh, it's a thing. So
it's like, I have two hands and two turntables. I can do this.
Right, exactly. So that's really what I wanted to do, just like a space for women I know who are really put in the work and are dope DJs and have different, like, great ears and play interesting music, to have a space to do that. That's really what I wanted.
Do you produce your own music?
Haven't started doing that. I started playing around doing an edit. I got frustrated because it felt very challenging when I was trying what I wanted to do, what I envisioned.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of detail into it. So I have not done one that I've released, but I've been working on it. And that's my plan also too, to release my own edits. And I have, like, in my head, I have this whole, like, several tracks, right, that I put together in my head. It's just getting it from here, like, into reality, right?
Yeah.
So that's the next, I like to do. Like, there are things I want to do.
Yeah, I want to learn how, but it's so tech heavy, right? So it's a whole nother learning curve, and yeah, I feel you on that.
I will say this because I use Serato. That's what I use for digital DJing, and they have Serato Studio. And, like, again, he was like, here, watch the videos. Start trying, do it. He's very encouraging with that. And it does make it a little bit easier because it's similar to Serato, right?
Right.
But you can just, like, and so my goal is, like, just to do, and I'm almost done with what I started. It's like, if you can get the one thing done, then that means you can go into the next thing. So
exactly.
And it is challenging, like you said, because it is like learning a whole different flow, and also giving yourself permission and not talking yourself out of things, like, what I mean? And I think that's always a big part of things. Like, you can, like, when I started DJing, like, not talking myself out of it. I remember talking to people in my family, they looked at me like I was crazy.
Oh, I know.
They're like, okay, you're okay, whatever. Like,
I tell my friends, when I got hired for the university gig, it's where I got my degree. The chair said, well, now that you got your degree, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to be an international DJ. Right. And then we went into lockdown and I was working remotely. And on March 29th, I started DJing for a station, internet station that's now defunct, called Sound Lab Radio UK. And it was based out of UK. So the next time he and I met, he's like, well, what are you doing? How are you doing? And he said, well, I'm an international DJ.
There you go. That's how it goes though. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that will manifest. I'm just, patient and, working with myself, and it's okay. Like, you always, it's good to be a student and to learn something new always.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah. Really.
Okay. Lightning round.
Okay.
Favorite track right now and why?
Oh gosh. I'm looking at all these records. I have all these. Okay, you know what? There's this one artist I like, David Walters, and the track. I'd have to look at the name of it, but I just am in love with it. So that's my new thing. I've been playing a lot. Yeah. So that. I wish I could tell you the name. I have to get I could look at my phone, but I'm doing this on my phone. So.
Yeah. Well, so I can assume that your favorite piece of equipment are your turntables.
Yes, I do.
And why? Why is it that vinyl and turntables are sort of like keep capturing you when there's all kinds of other technological options?
Oh, because it keeps me focused and present in the moment.
Okay.
It's like a meditation.
Okay.
And
cool.
So it just calls being present. I find like in digital, it can be easier sometimes to zone out playing, but I cannot do that when I'm playing vinyl using turntables.
Okay. What is your setup? What kind of gear do you use? I know you use Serato as your software when you're digital.
I have a controller. I have a Newmark NS62 controller.
That's what I have. It's so good. It's a beast.
Yeah, it works really well because I had Pioneers, but I feel like they didn't last. I went through 2 of those. Yeah, and they didn't last long. But the Newmark, it holds up really well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does.
At home for vinyl, like I use my I have like some Technics. I heard of those like years ago. When I bought from a seller, when I found on eBay. Right now, I've been using during the pandemic, I was able to get an old mixer from one of the venues where I played. They weren't using. It's an old Rain TTM 5S7 SL. But I need to get a new one, right? Because my old. So when I started streaming, I found out like the other mixer I had, it was a 2-channel Pioneer. It was pretty cool. But the thing is that something was wrong with one of the inputs so that there's no audio going out for streaming, but you can hear one of the channels. So I wasn't able to use it. So I've been using this for like going on 2 years, but I will be upgrading my mixer soon. I'm not exactly sure which one I'm going to get. I'm trying to decide. So I'm not sure. Yeah. But that's it. Yeah.
So favorite self-care technique?
Oh, I have a whole thing, kind of a routine I do in the morning before I start doing things. It's been very helpful. It involves like part of it's like some meditation, some yoga, and some other things I do. And I find that really helps. That's one of the best things I've started doing for myself.
Very cool. Favorite woman DJ and why?
Favorite woman DJ. Oh, I love Reborn. She's like, she's amazing. She was working and doing great things when she was really one of the few women working and doing it. And she's always very gracious. She's always been very gracious to me. You know what I mean? And I enjoy hearing her sets and hear what she plays. Like, she's really just a champion, a fan of the music and of the people and of the culture. So yeah, that's that. Yeah.
I think she was the first woman DJ I started following on Instagram.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. And then shortly after that, she started the tour with Miss Lauryn Hill. And I was
actually, I'm gonna see her.
I didn't even realize you could be like that. You could be essentially an opening act for a concert. I was like, oh my God, that's a thing.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
Yeah, usually it's men DJs, but I'm going to see Reborn later today. She's playing with me at Doyennes today, so I'll see her in a few hours.
Hi.
Yeah, I will too.
Yeah. You gotta be what?
right there. That's on this. You gotta be,
Yeah.
you gotta be bold. You gotta be strong, but you have to be yourself. You have to be yourself. You fully yourself. Nobody. You can't do anybody else. You got to do you. You have to be authentically, fully expressed as yourself.
Exactly. I fully agree with that. Are there any plugs you want to give about gigs coming up, about, your regular streaming situation?
Oh, yeah. Just follow me on Instagram at DJ Monday Blue. Also, twitch.tv/DJ Monday Blue. Right now, I'm streaming on Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Actually, I won't be streaming Saturday, February the 26th, because I had to juggle like some work things around. So I will not be able to make it back to Brooklyn. But after that, definitely I'll be back on Twitch on Saturdays for the foreseeable future. I might change the schedule again. I'm not sure. It's just, we're going to see how life goes. But right now, Saturdays at 6 on Twitch. So please follow there. Please follow also on Instagram at DJ Monday Blue, because that's where I post about my gigs. And when I have my website live, you can follow me there and sign up for the newsletter. But I'll be announcing it on Instagram first.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And this will be airing the last Sunday of the month.
Perfect. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Take care. Bye.